حي على الفلاح.
Do I become a scholar just by looking on the internet, looking things up? Or is becoming an Islamic scholar and speaking about Islam, is it something far bigger than that? When Imam Ibn Hazm, rahimahullah, was asked, and he was a great scholar in Andalusia, as you know, when he was asked his opinion about something, he said, I will not answer this question. They said, why? He said, because I am afraid to give my opinion and that Allah Jalla wa Ala will ask me on the day of the judgment, on day of judgment, why did you expect from people to worship me through your opinion? And that is what Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah tabarak wa ta'ala said. Somebody that gives a religious answer has given a fatwa, has said that it's a part of religion. So what I want us to understand is that from the moment you speak in the name of religion, you are actually putting your signature with what I have just said about religion. And that is why Allah Jalla wa Ala says, and do not say with your tongues, this is halal and this is haram. Because eventually, if you keep on doing that, you will lie about Allah. And verily, those that lie about Allah will never succeed. And in these times, it's so easy to pretend to have knowledge. You just go, copy, paste, and here you are on Instagram, there you are on Snapchat, and here you are making people cry because of these nice quotes that you found on Google Images, and people start looking up to you. But when they ask you, do you memorize the names of Allah? You keep quiet. There is something going on which we never knew before. Knowledge was always something that had a value, something that you had to work for, something that you had to sit in front of a scholar for, that you had to leave your house for, your family, your desires, your lusts. You had to go through the desert and get from those who had knowledge. And we don't see it like that anymore. It seems like knowledge became something very cheap. The scholars are the inheritors of the prophets. I mean, this is something very big. But it seems to become so small because it's just a click away, right? Why should I go to a scholar and study 10 years Quran? Quranic recitations, tajweed, fiqh and so forth. I just Google it. Does this break my wudu? Am I divorced now, Shaykh Google? Yes, you are. Okay, sorry husband. We are divorced. Our children are children of zina. People say the most crazy things. And why is that? Because we lost our Islamic culture of being in contact with Mashaykh and the understanding that nobody but a Shaykh should speak out. If I were to ask you to tell me something about biology and you didn't study it, you're going to say, I'm sorry, I don't know. If I would ask you, how do you make a plane? You say, I don't know. How do you fly a plane? I don't know. How was this made? I don't know. How was the table made? I don't know. Is this halal or haram? Let me tell you. SubhanAllah, you're not going to look up in Google how a plane is made, right? So why are you thinking that you can do differently with Islam? What made you think that? Islam is so cheap that it doesn't need a teacher, that it doesn't need you to start from the very bottom to get there where you have the privilege given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to become of those who speak in the name of religion. And this is what I want to talk about. The tradition of studying. We have to revive that spirit. Those who are not being taught should not speak. They should just say, I'm a Muslim, I love my religion, I'm going to practice what scholars teach me, but for the rest I will not speak, I will not talk. But the Prophet ﷺ said, like we find in Bukhari and Muslim, he said, at the end of times, Jahl will come down on earth and manifest itself on earth. Jahl, ignorance. And he said, and knowledge will be taken away. Ignorance will come down and knowledge will be taken away. So now, what is knowledge actually? Allah raised in rank those amongst you who believe, but those who know in many ranks. We have to know that we will never become a scholar, never become a student of knowledge if we don't sit with the scholars and if we don't learn not to speak until we know. So what is that tradition? The first thing is Islamic knowledge has always been transmitted orally through teachers. Even, don't you look at Musa alayhi salam, he went so far Some say for years he traveled, because when he was asked, who is the most knowledgeable on earth? He said, I am. Not because he wanted to brag. He was the Prophet, the one that Allah spoke to. So then Allah Jalla wa Ala told him that there was a man from whom he could learn. So Musa, one of the 5 great prophets, right? No, he traveled. He even took somebody with him, and he traveled, and he asked him, he begged Al-Khadir, people say Khidr, he said, like, will you allow me to follow you? Who is asking this? The one that Allah spoke to. Do you allow me, please, to follow you so that I can learn from that what Allah has bestowed upon you from knowledge? So he traveled all the way to learn. Now, the Shaykh, why do I need a Shaykh? It's a click away. Why do I have to even like be humble? Now, so the first thing is, our knowledge has always been transmitted through ulama. And this doesn't change. There's a difference between traditional knowledge and academical knowledge. There are two different types of knowledge. And in Islam, we have this oral tradition of passing on knowledge. And if you didn't get that, you don't have knowledge. And even if you have a bachelor degree or a PhD degree in Islamic knowledge, then you are an academic, but you don't have traditional knowledge. That are two complete different things, entirely different. So what is that tradition? The first thing is that this tradition is based upon memorization. Do you know, like so many 100 years ago, when you would sit with a scholar and you would like to follow his classes in fiqh, he would ask you, do you memorize Quran? If you said no, he said, go back, memorize Quran and then come back. Because if you don't have memorization of the Quran, you don't memorize the basic text of your knowledge and you want to gain knowledge, that doesn't make any sense. Just say, I'm a Muslim, I want to learn to practice. But there's a difference between wanting to practice or wanting to become a scholar. The parents wouldn't send their children to study with scholars unless they memorized the Quran, and when they finished memorizing the Quran, they had to lead the Taraweeh prayers. And if they did that in a right way, in a good way, they would say, now you are ready, now you can go. How many memorize a 5th, a 3rd, a 10th, a 20th? But nevertheless, we claim to be people gaining knowledge. That is catastrophe, really. So you see that in every branch of knowledge, there is a text that you will memorize. That is tradition. So either you say, I want to gain knowledge and I'm going to do it in a right way, or either I don't. But we shouldn't play anymore. We don't have time to play. Or it became a fashion to speak about religion, right? It became a fashion. Everybody does it. Here's a hadith of the day. Brothers and sisters, make dua during the night, because in the last third of the night you can ask Allah what you like. Did you wake up during the night, last third of the night? Did you practice it, or was it just going with the flow, chilling out with the Muslims and showing these nice quotes and hadith, but at the end we are empty boxes? So that's the second thing in knowledge. Knowledge is not called knowledge unless you bring it into practice. They are just like donkeys putting books on their backs, and it doesn't benefit them. And Allah says in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, yani, do you tell people to be righteous and do you forget your own selves? That is not knowledge. Or people that have believed, why do you say what you don't do, what you don't act upon? Do you know that every advice that you give to another Muslim through an ayah or hadith that you do not bring into practice, that this is something you will be asked about? You know, the thing that annoys me the most is the piousness through Facebook. You know, people that make pictures of supplicating to Allah, like, here I am, look at me. Or the sister that wants to stay humble. You know, she said, I'm not going to show my face, I'm going to show me like this. Then you say, what is it all about? Is this a fashion? Did Islam become a fashion? It's not about these kind of things. And then at the end you see that knowledge became very cheap. When you Google, who tells you that your perception of that what you read was right? When you sit with a scholar, you ask another question. Now Google, you ask one question and you think that's the answer. With a Shaykh, you sit, say, Shaykh, did I get it right? Can I understand it like this or like that? Google doesn't do that for you. And secondly, which answer does Google give you? You click on the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. You never go to the 60th answer. Who tells you that the first one was the best one? How are you going to know? Just because there's an ayah and hadith, an ayah and hadith on itself is in need of understanding. So where is knowledge gone? So anyway, what I'm trying to say, if Google is your teacher, you will have no sincerity, you will have no methodology, you will have nobody telling you if your comprehension is right or wrong, you will not be memorizing, and you will be just an extension of a virtual world where a lot of things go wrong.